kings, we pound for pound. UFC thrills, stills nights get loud. Big EQP, that's how we get down.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GRP. Back at it on a Thursday and ready to talk about UFC Vegas 111. Our second Apex card in a row, as we know. They're not always the best cards, but hey, we got to talk about it anyway. Yo, what up, Infinity? How's it going? Welcome back. Yeah, so we're here just ready to talk about some betting scandals and fight rigging and Jake Paul. What else are we doing? Thanks, Infinity. Yeah, I love this hat, man. It's fucking pretty sick. Didn't know how it was gonna come out, but it came out pretty good. Also got the GRP in the back. Bam. So yeah, I know I showed it when I first wore it, but you might not have seen it that day. Oh, new PC. All right. Infinity's gonna have some content coming up here pretty soon after he gets that installed. Yeah, so if you haven't heard about the betting scandals / fight rigging / FBI investigation, all that bullshit happening with the UFC, you know, some people might not have heard about it. If you don't follow MMA and the UFC very much, you might not have heard about it, but I've seen it everywhere. But that's also my algorithm. So I always gauge it off of how many people ask me about it, or if I see it just come up randomly on something other than, you know, things that I have an algorithm on, I guess. So, which is everything these days. So I guess technically there's not a whole lot of way for me to gauge how big it is. But yeah, it's happening. And, you know, we're going to talk about it here in a few minutes, but it's annoying, man, because, you know, there's already talks about fights being rigged through everything, you know, from the UFC. There's always that little bit of talk in the background, especially when there's like a big upset win, or, you know, the person that everyone's high on at the moment loses or anything like that, or if there's any kind of weirdness happening. But this happening kind of, you know, pulled up some red flags with people and started making people look into stuff like, hey, you know, what about this fight? What about that fight? It's always going to happen. The UFC just does its thing. The UFC will always just be persistent on moving on. They're always going to move on. Nothing's ever going to hold them back. The only way they'll get held back is if the popularity of the entire organization, if the entire organization starts to crumble, you know, that's about the only way it's going to get held back. They move on from every controversy, from every downfall, from every misguided comments, any misguided bad PR, any of that stuff. They bounce back from all of it. It doesn't matter. I mean, for crying out loud, Dana White goes up, you know, is on a live stream with Nina Drama, and is like, you know, oh, you think this week's fight card is garbage? Well, how about you wait till next week and let me know how it goes, because you haven't even watched it yet, you fucking idiots. So I don't think he gives a shit about anything else. We just got home, perfect timing. Oh, right on, Tyler. Welcome in. Infinity said there's definitely some signs regardless. Oh, yeah. No. I'm not denying any of it. I'm just saying it sucks what happens when things like this go on. And that's because, you know, then all of the allegations start flying. Of course, there's going to be all kinds of rumors and just bullshit spread. But all of the people that have constantly talked about how, you know, the fights are rigged this and the fights are rigged that, all those things start to come to light even more when something like this happens. So, but it's not the first time it's happened. That's the thing. There was a big betting scandal with James Krause and um Minner, whatever the fuck his first name was. So I mean, it's happened before, and there's a big scandal, blah blah blah, whatever. And of course, people are going to talk about it in the way that, oh, well, this time, you know, they were told that this was happening and that there was irregulations in the betting and all that. So yeah, anyway, I'll get into the details. I'm just going on. But it just sucks because then people start to look at the sport differently, and all those people that had a slight inkling in their brain that there might be fixed fights and all this shit, they all start to think that even more and push that narrative even further, and they stop watching. But the UFC is not going to miss a couple people here and there. They got millions upon millions of viewers. They have thousands upon thousands of new viewers every fucking event. So it doesn't even matter. Until something really big until you start seeing those numbers dwindle in events, the number of fighters they have on their roster dwindle, and they're basically putting on shitty events that you're like wondering how they even put this event together, because there's less fights on the card and it's the first one in a month. That's the only way you're gonna know that anything's really happening with the UFC. So it is what it is. A fighter you don't like equals fixed fight. Yeah, that's the truth, Tyler, for sure. So yeah, it's just one of those things, man. But we're going to talk about it here in just a minute, because there's, of course, always some stuff to look at, and statements being made, press releases, all this other bullshit. So, but before we get to that, this week is weird. It's a weird week. I had guys out of town for, work, so I was the only one there. We're down a guy because he decided to move on. So this was the first week I really felt it, and it's not a big deal. We've done it before, but we got some work coming up, and now I'm just like, oof. I always freak out ahead of time. We get through it because we're good like that, and I will pat myself on the back for that one, because we get through shit. I mean, we're kind of like the UFC. We just keep going and we get through it. We're not untouchable like they are, but we get through it. And I feel good about that, because my guys that I have are reliable, and we get through it, and they know what to do. I know what to do. I try to lead them in the best way possible, and we just get through shit. So I'm hoping that what's coming up for us in the next few weeks is going to be, just another bump in the road, a couple of hard days, and like Infinity just said, earn that check. So, and I'll definitely do that. But, yeah, I'm just going to be a little bit stressed. That's all. And it's not a big deal, because that happens. I'm stressed about something at all times, and I'm sure we're all there. So it's all good. I'll just, be happy with this and do this and unwind here by talking to you guys and continuing on talking about what I'm passionate about. So there's always something to talk about with the UFC, and if there is nothing, I'll find something. So, and if not, I'll take a break, because sometimes I need a break too. So it could always be worse, for sure, Infinity. So that is the truth. Let me give a shout out to my sponsor, Noctane smelling salts, of course. And I still have, I don't know that is a mosquito, but it might be. But the only time I ever see it, I was in this room for about an hour earlier, an hour, maybe a little more. I've been in this room a couple times, haven't seen this fucking thing. But as soon as the show starts, I have this little, I don't know if it's a gnat, I don't know if it's a mosquito, just a light bug, I don't know what it is, but it just pops up and it's flying around. We're gonna have to break in new PC in about 2 weeks. Oh yeah, sounds good. Definitely have to do that. Anyway, Noctane smelling salts. Let me take a big whiff of this real quick, because I need it at the moment, as usual at this time, because I want to be nice and awake and alert. Lightning bugs are dope. I don't think it's a lightning bug. I meant a light bug, like, the bugs that hang around the lights that only come around when the lights are on. It's the feds. They're listening to. Yeah, they're like, this fucking guy doesn't have a lot of people listening, but we need to know what's going on. Oh, shit. Here we go. Ah. Oh, there it is. I think I just need to get a little closer now because it's wearing out. I keep forgetting to hit up the dude from Noctane and tell him that I need a fresh bottle. I haven't heard from him in a minute, so I need to hit him up anyway. Okay, that was good. All right, Noctane, appreciate the sponsorship. The red cap is the most potent. If you're looking to just get into it, there's a white cap, least potent. Mid-range is about mid-range is black cap. It's still rough and it's still good though. So start slow if you want to try it out. Hit that QR code or there's a link in the description below always. Thank you, Noctane, for the sponsorship. Appreciate it. Now, let's get to a drink and we'll get to all of the juicy news happening around all of combat sports. Maybe not all of it because I can't touch on everything. I don't have that kind of time. So I pick and choose a few things that I want to talk about. So we'll start with the biggest news happening now. We got the betting scandal, the fixed fight / rigged fight / fucking bullshit. And yeah, and it has all to do with this guy, Isaac Dulgarian, who obviously got released from the UFC after finding out that there's irregularities in the betting, and people were betting against him when he was a big favorite, and then there was a huge swing in the odds, and there's a lot of money coming in on his opponent to win by submission in the first round, which that's a huge red flag. It's one thing to bet money line, it's another thing for the huge swing to come in on a prop bet. Listen, the kid's going to federal fucking prison. You know what? I actually clipped off that video and I wanted to extract the audio so I could put it in on my stream deck here, which I forgot to turn the sounds back on. So let me do that because I use my virtual for the sounds now because I control the show with the physical stream deck right here. That's the beauty of the virtual stream deck. I can basically have two of them. But anyway, yeah, this is all I gotta say. And fuck, because this starts up all of this controversy over, you know, all these other fixed fights. They talked about how, thanks Infinity, they talked about how the FBI is supposedly investigating over hundreds of fights and referees as well, including Steve Herzog. Yeah. And is that his first name? Why did that sound weird? Jason Herzog. Why did I think Steve? I don't know. Jason Herzog. So that has kind of been curbed a little bit, according to Dana. Nothing said about the ref, but Jason Herzog has combated that rumor online. But that's the narrative, is that they were investigating hundreds of fights, including multiple fights on this card from last week, as well as other fights, obviously. And with that being said, of course, that raises the red flag with everybody. And with the FBI being involved, it's a pretty serious situation, right? So the UFC released a statement that said, like many professional sports organizations, UFC works with an independent betting integrity service to monitor wagering activity on our events. Our betting integrity partner, IC360, monitors wagering on every UFC event and is conducting a thorough review of the facts surrounding the Dulgarian versus Del Valle bout on Saturday, November 1st. We take these allegations very seriously, and along with the health and safety of our fighters, nothing is more important than integrity of our sport. You ain't over there? Huh? I lost it. I don't know what you're saying, Infinity. But yeah, so Isaac Dulgarian winds up losing. So here's the thing. Oh yeah. Read it again. What? Why? What did I say something wrong? I know I kept saying waging. Oh my God, dude. Yes, I'm struggling. Struggle bus over here. It's okay. And now I'm choking. Oh man. Yes, I'm okay. Oh, I see. You said you're all right over there. Fuck. See, I really can't read. What the hell's going on? Okay, back to it. So the thing was, is that Bulgarian. I'm reading the chat. I know I'm fucking it up here. So Bulgarian, need more smelling salts. You're not alert enough. Oh fuck. God damn.
Bruh.
I'm getting roasted over here. That's what I need. That's what I need. You guys keep me humble. Oh shit. Okay, so within an hour to 2 hours, I think, before the fight started, apparently the odds, started, the odds started swinging and money started coming in on Del Valle. And that happens sometimes, but it was in such an emphatic way that it drew red flags, of course, from the betting companies. So when these betting companies see that just things start to shift in so much of a fashion, it starts to look like something's up. So they call the UFC, they let the UFC know, and they tell the UFC about what's happening, right? According to Dana White, in the statement that he made, or in the interview he had with TMZ, he said that they take it very seriously. So they talked to Bulgarian and they said, hey, listen, has anybody offered you money to throw the fight? Are you injured in any which way possible that could have been leaked somewhere? And is there anything else going on? Now, obviously, he's not going to just snitch on himself. So he said, no, absolutely not. There's none of that going on. I'm going to go out there and kill this guy. So Dana said, okay, cool. So the fight stays on. So that was another red flag that people saw, was that it was reported by the journalist. I forgot his name, but he was on X reporting all this, saying that the UFC was told ahead of time and that they let the fight continue. But according to Dana, he questioned the fighter, Bulgarian, and he said that there was no other reason to believe that it was happening, so he let it go and the fight went on. Well, knowing what he knew about the odds and about the prop bet that was getting a lot of action, he said as soon as the first round finish happened by submission, which was what everybody was betting on, he called the FBI right away. He said that was his first call. The UFC acting like calling Bulgarian and him saying no makes it right that the fight played out. That's like asking a bank robber if they're planning a heist later that day. Obviously, they'll say no. Exactly. He's not going to snitch on himself. There's no way. What's he going to do? Be like, yeah, somebody approached me. I said no. Please let me fight anyway. They're not going to let that happen. And he knows that. So, of course, he's going to say no. So it's one of those things where he's like, maybe better to ask for forgiveness than permission. But that didn't work. So what happened was they let the fight go on. Dana calls the FBI right after the fact, when he realized, hey, this is what happened. And that's obviously, suspicious. So they move on. The rest of the night goes on. Apparently there was a couple of other questionable things. I don't remember specifically what all those were. But then the FBI launches an investigation because of all of this, and because Dana White reported it, all of that. If he actually did, we don't know. This is just Dana White saying what he says. So he continues to say that, hey, listen, why would these guys do this? They're gonna go to fucking prison. That's what's gonna happen, and we're not gonna tolerate it. So we're gonna help in making sure that they are prosecuted and that they never fight again. So the biggest thing here is that Bulgarian also got dropped from his fight team. Now, his coach was on Ariel Helwani's show talking about how, his integrity is being put in question, his team's integrity, his camp, his gym, everything else, and that he had to let him go, even though he feels like he doesn't think that he would have been a part of any of this. But how can you first of all, he's in a predicament, because how can you defend him but yet do the one thing that everyone's going to point to when they say, listen, this guy's obviously guilty, considering he lost in the fashion he was supposed to lose in, and also gets dropped from his coach and his team. And according to his coach, he thinks that Dulgarian will never fight again, because he says that basically with all this happening and the way his career was going anyway, that he basically thinks he's never going to fight again anyway. Well, that's even more of a reason to think that he would have done this. Cash out, you know, you get offered a ton of money, more than what your purse is going to be to fight, or to show up to fight and to win. So he was probably on a 12-12, 14-14 contract. So he gets the whatever to show money, and then he gets whatever amount of money they offered him. 70,000, 90,000, 100,000, who knows? Maybe it was 30,000. And it had to have been more than whatever his purse was going to be. Otherwise, why would you do it, right? But these guys, some of these lower level guys don't get paid enough to say, hey, fuck it, right? He's not on a title run. He's not in contention. So what's there to lose? Well, there's your entire career to lose and your freedom, because you get thrown in jail for this kind of shit if you get caught. And it's looking like he got caught, if that's what actually happened. Obviously, this is all allegedly, because there's no full proof yet. You know what this calls for? A drink? Is that what it calls for, Tyler? If so, cheers. Oh, fuck. Hot sauce for everybody? What the fuck? This is a weird night already. But, so that's the gist of it all. And, you know, now there's all these allegations of reffing being called into question, which that always is. Judges being called into question, you know, and everything else. So Jason Herzog is being questioned, and he made some derogatory statements to the guy that was, you know, putting it all out there. I can't remember the guy's name. I wish I could. I don't know why I can't remember it, because I just went through his tweets earlier. But maybe I should look. I can actually look. I think I have one thing that I saved that I did not put in here, because I kind of forgot. So let me see if I can find it real quick. Okay, so it says over 100 UFC fights flagged by FBI, potential audits sought for fights refereed by Jason Herzog. Harry Mack is the journalist, posted several allegations to X. One of these alleges that the FBI informed the UFC of the Dulgarian versus Del Valle fight being flagged and closed to bets by sports books. However, the UFC allowed the fight to go on, which we talked about. Additionally, Mack claims that over 100 additional fights, including another one from UFC Vegas 110, or another two from UFC Vegas 110, were supposedly flagged by the FBI due to unusual betting patterns. Moreover, Mack claims that there is a responsibility that fights refereed, a possibility, good God, that fights refereed by Jason Herzog are being sought after by federal officials for an audit. Now that just means that they're just going to look into it, right? By FBI, really? Yeah, for sure. Infinity, 100%. Dana said that's BS. Yeah, and that's what I said earlier. He already said, this is me though. This is for me. Get your fucking shit together, my God. Because I fucked up like 3 things while reading that too. I don't know what my problem is today. I can't read. But but yeah, Dana of course is gonna claim that none of that's true. He did say they called him. He said he questioned the fighter and that he had no reason to believe it was gonna happen. But as soon as it did happen, like everyone was saying it was gonna happen, then he called the FBI. So he let it to go through for the slim chance that it wasn't true, and it turned out to be true the way that it went down, at least. So at least he tried, but fuck, man, I guess it still looks bad on them that they let the fight go on. If there's any kind of question in your head, then I would say maybe it's probably best to keep that fight out. But now people are going back and looking at old fights and talking about how this fight, Aldo versus McGregor, was fixed, confirmed. As I'm saying it, Tyler, you are just on point sometimes. He said just kidding, but that shit's funny. But yeah, people are going back like Cyril Gane versus John Jones. Come on, man. I don't believe that for 1 second, for one. But I have seen some examples from some videos saying that you know, some fights do look a little fishy. Yan Xiaonan versus Weili Zhang is one of them, because if you remember that one at UFC 300, Yan Xiaonan basically got choked out. She was unconscious. Weili McGregor needs to get fixed. Weili basically choked out Yan Xiaonan at the end of the second round, I think, and she was out cold. And Jason Herzog, it was the referee, basically woke her up and said, hey, get to your corner. And then the fight went on, which was insane. So I mean, I don't know. That was one that came to my head right away, and that's one that's been pointed out. I saw a lot of videos about Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena, when Juliana Pena beat her, saying that Nunes basically didn't fight off any of the submission attempts and allowed everything to get slipped in, and basically she just quit. Yeah, it's old school, get up and get back in there. Yeah, but that's not supposed to happen with the refs, especially one that's being looked at as fixing fights. Jason Herzog has a few of these moments, probably had money on the fight to go past like 3.5 rounds or something. Yes, and that's another thing that a lot of people are saying. So unfortunately, it doesn't look good for him, and it doesn't look good for some of these fights, but I don't know. We don't know which fights the FBI are looking into. We don't know which fights which fights Jason Herzog is getting looked into for. So also Dan Miragliotta is sus like that Kyle Nelson fight. He probably has money on over. Yeah, and you know, here's the thing. They do make mistakes, and we know that. So if it was just a mistake, then it's gonna look that way, right? And I'm not trying to defend them at all. I'm just trying to, you know, state a fact here that they're gonna make mistakes. But the judging too, the judging is a big problem. There's so many different ways that things could get fixed in MMA. I think MMA is easier to fix a fight in because, well, first of all, it's just you. Second of all, there's so many different ways to lose, but it was so obvious, but you never know, I guess. Yeah. And that's the thing. They can chalk it up to just being a mistake, but some of these mistakes are bad, real bad. But we've seen so many different situations with reffing that you just never know. They should investigate that infamous 49-46 Jones scorecard. Yeah, there's a lot of things now that people are bringing up, and a lot of them make sense, honestly. So you can't really say that absolutely not, but at the same time, there's a secondary reason that these things could have happened as well, and that's what makes it hard to show as a fact. So with all this being said, now I'm wondering what's going to happen this week coming up, because the Apex is one of those fight cards that always has lower level fighters on it. They're probably not getting paid the most. It's not like there's not big implications on most of these fights. So if any of these fights are going to get any kind of action like this happening on them, these would probably be the best ones. Because these guys and girls could probably get taken advantage of by being offered a lot of money, life-changing money, in order to fix a fight. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what the hell happens. It's still early. I mean, this just came about throughout this week, and like I said in my title, the news, the headlines move so fast. Like, the next big thing could happen. Jamal Hill next cope is that he took a dive against Pineda. Follow the money, Infinity said. Yeah, well, that's what we're gonna have to wait and see. So there's a lot of hype around this, not hype, but a lot of talk around this, and you just never know. If the betting companies are sponsoring this, then that is the other thing. But betting has become such a big thing. People make content that's solely based on betting. I mean, one of the Combat Sports guys that was on here, Mike from Mike Talks, a lot of his content is based around betting. He does He's a bettor. He bets all the time on everything. So there's just with betting becoming so easy to do on your phone, as long as it's legal in your state, then you can do it. And if it's not legal in your state, you can still find a way around it. So it's just tough to stop a lot of this shit. And that's why there's a lot of fans that are out there that talk mad shit to people on social media for losing them money when they're the ones that chose to bet that money. You can't be mad at the fighter. Okay, I don't get that. You can't be mad at the fighter. You made the choice to bet on them. You made the choice to bet on how they finished the fight, or how the fight ended, or what prop. So for me, this is why I don't bet, because I just get too mad, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I can't bet on this because I don't know. MMA is crazy like that. There's so many things that could happen. It's tough. Should bet on the whack ass football game. I forgot that football's even on, honestly. I don't even know who's playing tonight. But yeah, there's just so much that could happen, and MMA is a tough sport to bet on. So I don't see a lot of big bets coming out of MMA. If I really bet, I would bet on your opposite. Yes, you always bet against me because I suck at betting. That's why I don't do it anymore. So yeah, I guess we're gonna have to just wait and see what happens with this. And you know, that's the gist of it all. There's not a whole lot there. When it comes down to it, they're investigating. So we'll see what the investigations bring, if anything, and we'll see how fast the news just swings things over, because starting on Sunday, we're gonna start hearing about UFC 322. That's what everything's gonna be based on and based around. That's what all the content's going to be made about. So it'll take a couple days, but you know, when it comes down to it, news moves fast and it changes quickly. We are all putting the house on Jan to beat Marab, right? Right? Oh man, sure, let's do that. All right, so next up, let's talk about this Jake Paul situation, because he was supposed to fight Tank Davis, and now that is canceled. Surprise, surprise, not so much. I'm not really that surprised, and that's only because
I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
That's only because I honestly didn't think that Gervonta Davis would follow through with this fight. So that's why I'm not that surprised. So the fight was canceled, and it's all due to Gervonta Davis being a fucking idiot, and he just can't stay out of trouble. He can't stay out of trouble, and he just can't seem to keep his hands off women. And I don't mean that in the way that you think. I mean that in the way that he likes to hit women. Maybe it's because he's so fucking small that he thinks, hey, most of these women are bigger than me, so I'll just hit them. It's all good. Like a little kid thinks about it. You know what I mean? Little boys aren't supposed to hit little girls, or girls in general. Most good parents teach their boys that, but there's some dumbasses that just can't keep their hands to themselves, whether it be fucking in a inappropriate way or in a violent way, and he's just a fucking dumbass. He's definitely a punk, but I would say stronger words. So yeah, Jake Paul said Gervonta Davis is an actual walking human piece of garbage. Working with him is an absolute nightmare. The unprofessionalism, the bizarre requests, the showing up hours late to shoots, to the numerous arrests and related accusations and lawsuits. If you support this man, you support the most vile sin a man can commit. I don't want to give this woman abuser a platform to grow his fans and grow his bank account. My company champions women. I'm so sorry to everyone involved, mostly to the undercard fighters, to my team at MVP, and to my team who worked so hard prepping for this fight, sacrificing time and loved ones and kids just for this fool to lose his unintelligent mind again. It's scary that devilish men like this can rise to the top of culture and sports, including in positions of power. I hope you people moving forward look beyond his fake streetwear pieces, swag, and search for something deeper to be a fan of. As for me, it's on to the next one as always. Anyone, anytime, any place. Yeah. Let's see. He's from back home too. Some people can't take the hood out. Davis versus Anthony Joshua, but Joshua gets all the money. Let's go. That would be hilarious. So yeah, he's got a lawsuit pending for beating up a woman again. As always, it seems like every, I don't know, 4 to 6 months he's getting arrested, getting sued, getting accused of domestic violence or violence against women, and that's because he's a small little piece of shit of a man. I don't know why I got dyslexic on that, but that's par for the course today. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. And I mean, it's not like this was a great fight to begin with. I mean, what, just because Gervonta Davis is a big name, Jake Paul thinks it's a great fight? Stupid. And it didn't seem like there was a lot of clout around this fight anyway. So it is what it is. And it does suck for all the people on the undercard, because that's one thing I'll give Jake Paul credit for, which I always do, is that he takes care of that undercard. He brings all the eyes with his main event, and all of the undercard and fighters down there get to, you know, cash in on that, because they get the money from all the eyes that are coming to that event. And Jake Paul has not been proven to not be truthful about that portion of what he does. So I believe it at this point. You know how I feel about Paul, but he's not wrong on this. Yeah, exactly true. So is Jake Paul still on the card or no? No, apparently this has been scrapped completely. Now, that's what I was getting to next, because, oh shit, I started it over. What a dumbass. There we go. So Nate Diaz was one of the names that was thrown out there as to someone stepping in. So this was supposed to happen on the 14th, and I don't think he's been able to find an opponent. Nate Diaz said, "Fight accepted, you're dead." Now, here's the thing. I fucking love Nate Diaz. That's why I have, you know, his drop in here, on top of the fact that I've just always been a Diaz fan of both Diaz brothers. Oh my God, I get a contact high just hearing that name. Yeah. And I love the Diaz brothers, regardless of their records or, you know, what they've done recently. I think it's unfortunate what happened with Nick, but, you know, those are some of the guys that I came up in MMA with, as far as being a fan and knowing who they were. I've always been a big fan of theirs. So that doesn't mean they can't do anything wrong. It just means, for me, I'm a big fan, and, you know, I follow them regardless. But at the same time, you know, it sucks when you see stuff like what Nick was going through happening. Drug issues, addiction problems, all that shit. But I've always been a Diaz fan, and you can talk all the shit you want, but they're still badasses. So, and Nate heard that his name was being thrown in the hat for a possible replacement for the Jake Paul fight, and he said that he was injured during that first fight, but he looked like garbage. We've seen it already, and I hate to say it, but I'm not really excited to see it again, unless I see a real fire under his ass, you know. But he talks a lot of shit regardless, so it's hard to know whether it's true or not, because he talked a lot of shit leading up to that fight. He needs to retire, though, as good as he was. You're talking about Nate? Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but so this isn't gonna happen, because Jake Paul responded and he said, "Nate Diaz is a fucking G. It isn't meant to be, but respect for willing to step up on 2 weeks notice. So many pussies at the top of this sport with excuses." So Jake Paul shuts it down and says that it's not happening. The other name thrown around, which would have been actually somewhat interesting, was Francis Ngannou. And the reason, oh man, of course I fucked it up. Let me fix this real quick. Wait, what happened here? Because there it is. Okay, so Jake Paul, or Francis Ngannou's name was being thrown out there as well, and basically Francis shut it down, because he was like, "Listen, this is a joke. Like, it's disrespectful to me And I guess he thinks just because he was a champion before, he's still somewhat in his prime if he would just fight. And I'm not sure why else. But that was his response. He said, hell no, I'm not fighting Jake Paul. So Jake Paul responds with, Dear Francis, just say you already got humiliated in boxing and are scared to lose to Jake Paul. I accept that. You are light work, my friend. Stuck in mud. Francis said, choose your words wisely, boy. I agree that you need someone to discipline you for what you did to Mike Tyson, but stay in your lane. Jake Paul responds, my lane helped your lane. I spoke up for you over and over again. No more. Look at yourself in the mirror. God don't like ugly. Maybe the truth is you are a fake holier than thou actor when it's always been just about you. Maybe use your platform to speak on the youth of your country. Posting a flag ain't it. Instead of doing TMZ interviews like a con man to talk about me. Reality check, I sleep you in boxing and John Jones does in bed? He put a bed emoji. Don't know what the fuck that means, but okay.
Hey, no Diddy, man. No Diddy.
And Francis Ngannou just responded with, you don't speak up for me. You did speak up for me in the past, but we are still not in the same lane. Grow up and don't fall so low. Ngannou talking when he won't take the fight. Yeah. I think it'd be an interesting fight for the simple fact that, listen, Francis Ngannou's not a boxer. He may have boxed a couple times, but he's not a boxer. And he is still somewhat in his prime. He's not that old. I wouldn't say that he's washed up. I just say that he's misguided and he needs to fucking buckle down and get back to what he's supposed to be doing, which is fighting. He just hasn't been doing it. And Jake Paul isn't this high-level boxer while everyone says how good he is, and I've said he's pretty damn good for the amount of time he's been in boxing. He's not a professional upper echelon fighter. So I think this would actually be a decent fight. Infinity said pick someone his age and height and he won't see lane lines. Huh? I mean, I understand what you're getting at. But I think, picking somebody who's bigger than him and isn't completely over the hill and washed up in MMA or any other sport, Francis Ngannou wouldn't be too bad. Now, if you remember, they were both signed, referencing stay in his lane. Oh, I see. If you remember, they're both signed to PFL. Ngannou is actually a PFL fighter right now. Jake Paul signed to PFL for their super fight league. Said he would be fighting in MMA and PFL, but this is like 2 years ago at this point. So I don't know, I don't know why that name would even get put out there. Come on, you got to respect him a bit for calling out Francis. No, I mean, sure. And that's what I'm saying. I actually think this would be a good fight. And I think that it makes sense. It makes more sense than Nate Diaz again, because we already saw that and we saw what happened there. And I don't think now's the time for a rematch. I think if Nate Diaz goes out there and beats somebody in a big way or looks a lot better in another fight, because he hasn't fought since then maybe that would warrant another fight. But until then, I don't think it's necessary. So yeah, Francis would be a better fight. And I give him props for calling out someone that scary and that big. And someone that's bigger than him finally, and someone that is kind of in his lane, honestly. But Francis isn't having any of it because according to Dana and a lot of other people, Francis is full of himself. So that might be the case, but I don't know. All I know is at this point, it seems like this MVP card is out of question now to whether it's going to happen or not. It's just basically not going to happen. So we'll see if there's any news coming out from that. Other than that, though, that's what's happening with Gervonta Davis and his dumbass. So much talent wasted on stupidity. And then, and I'm sure he'll get more fights. Put Paul in the octagon, then I would think about respect. Yeah, but no one wants to go fight in MMA, and the UFC's not going to sign anybody. Just yeah, they did it with CM Punk, and they did it with James Toney back in the day, but it was all short-lived, and they're not going to. And Dana hates Jake Paul, so you can't get respect by hand choosing your opponents. No, 100%, I get that. So yeah, this is just not happening, and that's all there is to it. So we'll see if anything comes about before November 14th, but that's what it is when it comes to Jake Paul's boxing match. And MVP's already posting about other fights happening too, so we'll see what happens. Let's get to UFC 111, which is coming up this Saturday. Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown is your main event. That's a pretty decent main event. I mean, Bonfim is a lot better on the ground, has great submissions. We saw him struggle a little bit with Wonder Boy on the feet in his last fight, but we'll talk a little more deeper into that when we get to it. Second weakest card of the year. Oof. I mean, of the recent couple months, yes. I don't know about the whole year, because I can remember some pretty bad fights earlier in the year. Not off the top of my head, but I remember thinking those cards were pretty whack too. So it's hard to rank, because a lot of them are tied for first and second of the worst of the year for sure. This one has a couple of okay fights. I mean, I don't mind this main event so much, but again, this is always what happens at the Apex cards, is when they put the filler fights in, the guys that need fights so that they can, you know, because they need to fulfill their contract, the guys that they're looking to be like, hey, listen, if he loses this fight, it's over for him, we get rid of him and find a new prospect. Or the guys or girls that are like, hey, if they win this fight, maybe this will propel them to a higher level of competition and we can really see what they can do. Or it's just fulfilling their contract, like I said. But also they need to fulfill their contract with the TV, with the broadcasting deal. So they need to have a set amount of events, and this is how they fill it. We have a couple shitty events between the two pay-per-views, and then we look real forward to that pay-per-view. Might be good promotion, honestly. But it sucks for us that want to see really good fights all the time, and instead we get this shit. But we got to be grateful for having fights, because it sucks when there's none. I guess. Looking at the upside, right? So coming from this card, we've already had a couple of fights fall out, and that oh shit, I switched up the page. There we go. So that was fights that fell out. God damn it. Of course, it doesn't load those fights. Okay, well, that's fun. Anyway, we had the first fight of Jackson McVeigh versus Robert Valentin was supposed to be the first fight of the night, and that got scrapped. But Jason McVeigh stays on the card, and he still is the first fight of the night. So let's take a look at those prelims. He's now fighting Zachary Reese. Not too bad of a fight there. I mean, Reese is only good for maybe the first couple. Yeah. Zachary Reese is only good for the first couple minutes, and then he just kind of seems to forget how to fight, it feels like. So Jackson McVeigh has looked pretty decent in his last couple fights. Looking at it, I mean, he lost his last fight. Why didn't I remember that? He looked good before that. He lost to Bruno Ferreira by submission in his last fight. So yeah, he's looking to bounce back, get back in the win column. Oh, I see why I didn't find what I was looking for. I was on the wrong page. Here we go. Okay, so those fights that fell out, man, there's a lot of canceled fights. Jackson McVeigh versus Dante Johnson was supposed to happen, but we saw Dante Johnson last week. That one just says fizzled. Luana Santos versus Melissa Croden was rescheduled. Robert Valentin versus Jackson McVeigh, like I said, Valentin has a back injury. Adrian Yanez versus Christian Quinones was supposed to be on this card as well. Quinones withdrew, it doesn't say why. Daria Zelenyanakova, good God, versus Luana Santos. That one, Daria withdrew. And then Austin Boshi versus Jamal Emmers. Boshi was out with an injury as well. So there's a lot of fights that kind of went away on this card. But again, none of them were the big fights that we even cared about anyway. So we just got a few other filler fights here. But in the end, we still have 7 fights on this prelim card. And we start with, like I said, Jackson McVeigh versus Zach Reese. I'm thinking McVeigh's going to really be looking to get back in that win column and try to take advantage of the short notice fight for Zachary Reese, who's 3-2 in the UFC, coming off that no contest over Cedric Dumas. That's when he got kicked in the nuts and rolled around and played it up and basically just quit. I can't say too much. It's a nut shot. It sucks. But yeah, that guy's an idiot. So before that, though, Reese had a win over Dusko Todorovic by unanimous decision. So, you know, he's looking to get another win here. He's 3-2 in the UFC. Fighting Jackson McVeigh should be a tough fight. Hopefully it's a good one to start off the card. And that brings us to Miles Johns versus Daniel Marcos in the men's bantamweight division. We got Johns, who is 15-4 overall, 6-4 in the UFC. Marcos 4-1 in the UFC, 17-1 overall. With only having one loss, and that one loss being his last fight against Montel Jackson, he's definitely looking to bounce back. You know, once your undefeated fighter gets his first loss, it's always a matter of how they bounce back. I say that all the time, but that's because that's what I truly believe. Sometimes these guys have trouble and lose 2 or 3 in a row and then finally find their way back. But you know, sometimes you get the guys that are real hungry and can get past that loss and just put it behind them and say, listen, I don't have that pressure of an undefeated record anymore, so let's just get out there and focus on what we're here to do and focus on fighting. And that might be, you know, that might be his way. He beat Adrian Yanez before that loss to Montel Jackson, which is a good opponent that he won. Split decision win there. He lost by decision to Montel Jackson. I mean, Montel Jackson's a tough opponent as well, so you can't really look over that one. And then Miles Johns is on a 2-fight losing streak with losses to Felipe Lima and Jean Matsumoto, both by decision. Matsumoto was a split decision, so a close fight there. He's looking to bounce back and get in the win column and stop this losing streak that he's on right now. So we'll see how that turns out for Miles Johns versus Daniel Marcos. Next up, we got the first women's fight in the event. First of 2, I think there's only 2 on this whole card. And that is Tisha Pennington, formerly Tisha Torres, versus Denise Gomes. And this is in the women's strawweight division. Pennington is 15-7 overall, 11-7 in the UFC. Gomes is 5-2 in the UFC, 11-3 overall. Tisha looked pretty damn good in her last fight against Luana Pinheiro. Her last 2 fights she won. One against Carla Esparza as well, which was the former, you know, champion, 2-time champion actually. And I think that was when Carla retired back in 2024, October of last year. So Tisha's on a 2-fight win streak. This will be her second fight in 2025. Before that, she was on a 2-fight losing streak against Mackenzie Dern, who's now the champion, and Tabitha Ricci, who's a badass. So tough opponents there. If she follows the pattern she was on, she's due for a loss, but we'll see if she can make it 3 in a row against Denise Gomes or Gomez. I'm not sure which way it's said, honestly, but she's on a 3-fight win streak with a performance of the night bonus in her last fight against Elise Reed, where she got a TKO 30 seconds into the second round, which was a good one if I remember correctly. She also beat Karolina Kovacevic and Eduarda Mora, both by decision. And yeah, so now she's on a 3-fight win streak, looking to make it 4 against Tisha Pennington, which is a good name for her to get, you know, in the win column with, or to continue that win streak with, because Tisha's a vet that's been around for a while. She's a great fighter, and she's been looking good in her last couple fights. So we'll see how that one pans out in the women's strawweight division. Next up, this motherfucker. We got Josh Hokett versus Max Jimenez. I'm not sure. Gomes looks more like a guy, so I'll pick her. Oh shit. What's weird is they used to say that about Tisha because she's called the tiny tornado because she's fast as fuck, and on top of that she is ripped, like super ripped. Oh shit. I meant to play this.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
But she is quick. I mean, for being so little, but she's ripped like crazy. So a lot of people would say that about her as well, but I understand where you're coming from with Gomes. Next up though, we got the heavyweight division. We got Josh Hokett versus Max Jimenez And I don't know a lot about Max. He's making his UFC debut. Pennington would get it. Yeah, there's some pictures out there that yeah, that's a true statement. But Josh Hokett is the former NFL player that won in the contender series, and then he started spouting off fucking all kinds of weird shit on the mic, just yelling and screaming and talking about telling Dana White, give me the contract, I'll suck your toes or some shit like that. He said some weird shit, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's nasty.
But he said it. You can go back and look. Anyway, he is coming off that win in the contender series, second round TKO win by elbows. Contention, holy shit. Yeah, I know, dude. I got problems today. I don't know what's going on. It is what it is. But yeah, he's undefeated, 6-0. So coming into the UFC for his first official UFC fight, undefeated at 6-0. I think I don't know who he played for, but he played in the NFL. He's a fucking kind of a weirdo, but I guess he looked all right in that fight in the contender series. So Max Jimenez or Jimenez, I'm not sure which way it's said. He's coming from, he's Brazilian, so maybe, but he's 6-1 overall. He's on a 2-fight win streak coming into the UFC, making his UFC debut, coming off of 2 TKO wins in the first round. So I feel like this is going to be a banger. We got two big boys that like to stand and fucking swing. So this could be a really good fight. May not be super technical, but you might get a fucking knockout from this one, and that would be fun to see. So that's a good fight to keep an eye on. Next up, we got Mayra Buenos Silva versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Buenos Silva's on a nasty losing streak. She has lost 3 in a row, 2 by decision and 1 by TKO. And yeah, that 1 by TKO was nasty when she had that huge cut over her eye. And then she lost to Jasmine Jasdavicius and Raquel Pennington by unanimous decision. Macy Chazon's the one that cut her open and got the fight stopped in the second round. So she's on a 3-fight losing streak, which is tough. Now, is she going to come in hungry, ready to win again so she doesn't possibly get cut? Or is she going to stay in this slump and possibly, this game is putting me to sleep? You practicing Hooked on Phonics is keeping me up. God damn it.
Gotcha, bitch.
That's what Infinity just said. But yeah, so Mayra Buenos Silva's just, oh man, she's definitely trying to get out of that losing streak. But Cavalcanti's a tough opponent. She's undefeated in the UFC. She's 9-1 overall. Her 4 wins in the UFC have come over Zaraya Fairn, Josane Nunez, Nora Cornelli, and Julia Villa. No shame in losing to Macy Bad to the Bone Chazon. Yeah, no, she's a badass for sure. But Cavalcanti doesn't really have the same level of opponents in her previous fights, basically. So she's 4-0 in the UFC, but they're not too big names. So Mayra Buenos Silva is definitely a step up, even though she's on a 3-fight losing streak and she's a vet. She's fought a lot of big names in the past. She has a lot of experience. So with that being coupled with the hunger to get out of that losing streak, Mayra Buenos Silva might have a chance in this fight, but Cavalcanti is one of those up and comers that's, you know, she's good and she's undefeated so far. So if she can hold on to that and beat Buenos Silva, it could be a really good win for her and a good name under her belt to continue moving up that ranking system. So next up, we'll move back to the men in the bantamweight division. Ricky Simone versus Raoni Barcelos. This could be a banger for sure. This is one of those good fights. He's singing Bad to the Bone now. At least you guys keep me entertained while I'm over here fucking up my words. Ricky Simone, 10-5 in the UFC, 22-6 overall. Raoni Barcelos, 9-4 in the UFC, 20-5 overall. Simone is always in there and ready to fight. He's an exciting guy to watch fight for sure. He was on a big losing streak, 3 in a row before he got to Javid Bashra and got a performance of the night bonus win by TKO in the first round back in February, and then he beat Cameron Smotherman by unanimous decision in his last fight in June. So he's on a 2-fight win streak, going up against Raoni Barcelos, who also puts up a good fight for sure, and it's fun to watch him fight. He's on a 3-fight winning streak with his last win against Cody Garbrandt. Now 2 of those 3 fights were unanimous decision wins to Cody Garbrandt and Peyton Talbot, which he handed Talbot his first, I think that was his first loss. Let me look at that real quick. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that was his first loss after being undefeated. So Raoni Barcelos is a damn good fighter, and he beat Christian Quiones as well by submission. So he's on a 3-fight win streak. Has beaten some good competition, but Ricky Simón is one of those guys that's been in there for a while. He's a dog, and he's got a lot of experience. So this should be another really good fight. So I think these last 3 fights I talked about should be pretty damn good. If they pan out that way, we'll see. And then you got your featured prelim fight, Haider Emil versus Jamal Emmers. I mean, this has good potential as well. Haider Emil's 11-1 overall, 3-1 in the UFC. Jamal Emmers is 4-4 in the UFC, 21-8 overall. Haider Emil is coming off of his first loss to Jose Delgado, where he lost in 26 seconds in the first round, which is tough. So we'll see once again how he bounces back from getting his first official loss. Before that, he had 3 wins in a row. Fernie Garcia, Jiang Yang Lee, and William Gomez. A decision, a TKO, or 2 TKO wins there. So yeah, I mean, both these guys are coming off of, oh no, Emmers is coming off a win by TKO. He's got a win-loss streak going. Seems like when he comes up against the higher level opponents, Haider Emil's the greatest marauder. GOAT. Okay. I mean, I do like Emil. Emmers seems to lose against the more well-known guys. He beat Gabriel Miranda in his last fight. He lost to Nate the Train Landwehr. He beat Dennis Bazooka, and then he lost to Jack Jenkins. So he lost to Pat Sabatini as well, Giga Chikadze. But then all the guys that are not as well known, like Vince Cachero, Hussein Asparov, and Rafael Barbosa. Oh, that was it in the UFC. Yeah, the bigger name guys in the UFC he seems to lose to, and then you don't know what an MMA Marauder is. I mean, I know what a Marauder is. I don't know what you're referring to specifically. I might be out of the loop here, but also I'm a little bit slow today, as if you couldn't tell. So we'll just chalk it up to that. I'll let you go ahead and tell me, and then I'll see if what I was thinking of was correct or not. Probably not. But yeah, that's your prelims. So, I mean, I think those last 4 fights have good potential to be decent fights. The other ones are just kind of toss-ups. You don't know really. But starting with that heavyweight fight and the ones after that, maybe not the one. Someone who walks forward with no head. Oh yeah, for sure. He's the greatest at that. Okay. No, that's what I was thinking. But you said MMA Marauder, so I didn't know if you just meant like something else. Like there was another meaning behind that. So that's what I was kind of confused about. Anyway, yeah, that's your prelims. Let's get into the main card, starting with Christian Leroy Duncan versus Marco Tulio. I like this fight actually, because Christian Leroy Duncan is one of those guys that had some hype around him for a while, and then he kind of gets a loss here and there, and then people start doubting him. But I wouldn't say that he's fought the biggest names, but he has lost to the bigger names, kind of like we talked about with Emmers. But he lost. His only 2 losses are to Armin Petrosian and Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop. So those are tough. But he's beat Eric Anders. That was his last fight where he got a performance of the night bonus. That was a TKO in the first round. He beat Andre Pulev, Claudio Ribeiro, Dennis Tululin, and Dusko Todorovic. So, you know, not too bad of a fight schedule there. And he's 5-2 in the UFC, coming off that those two wins in a row against Pulev and Anders, and a performance of the night bonus. So he's looking to come out there and extend that win streak. And Marco Tulio is undefeated in the UFC, 14-1 overall. He's got some hype around him because of how he fights, and you know, the fact that he's, you know, come in with 2 pretty decent fights. He's only been stopped once on the feet. He's got 10 wins by KO TKO, which is, every time I see double digits in that category with only 1 or no losses, it's like, yeah, we're looking at a stand-up battle here. Tulio is very impressive for sure. He's never been stopped by submission, and he's never lost a decision fight either. And he's on that 2-fight win streak. So yeah, I feel like this definitely has good potential for the first fight on the main card. Tulio is 2-0, like I said, in the UFC. Beat Tracian Gore in round 2 by TKO, and Ihor Pretoria in the first round by TKO as well. Both of those happened this year, January and then April. So he's coming off of 2 wins in a row, looking to make it 3 against Christian Leroy Duncan, a little bit higher level opponent than the previous 2. But I mean, those are some decent names, Ihor Pretoria and Tracian Gore, not bad opponents there. So he's looked pretty good in those 2 fights, and I think that he's got what it takes to beat CLD. But we'll see if Duncan can stop him and take the win from him on this one for the first fight of the night on the main card. Moving on, we got one of the Bonfim brothers, one of 2 that are fighting on this card, Ismael Bonfim versus Chris Padilla. And Padilla's 3-0 in the UFC, while Bonfim is 2-2. We got 8-1 by KO TKO to 9-1, so that's pretty even there. 5-2 to 4-4 in submissions, and then 3-3 to 7-0. Bonfim doesn't lose decision fights. That's apparent. But he's got losses in every other category. So Padilla's coming off a 3-fight win streak, obviously, because he's 3-0 in the UFC, and Bonfim is coming off a loss. Let's take a look at the 3 fights that Padilla has won in the UFC, as he's undefeated. Jai Herbert was his last win, and that was a split decision. Rong Zhu was a TKO win by Dr. Stoppage, and then James Yontop was his first fight in the UFC that he won by submission in the first round. So he does a little bit of everything. Rong Zhu was that nasty, crazy eye, fucking huge, just mouse that was under his eye, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Closed his eye, and that big punch on the left is one of the reasons why that happened to Rong Zhu. So that was a good fight for Padilla, and he gets a Dr. Stoppage in that one. And then you got Bonfim coming off a loss. Oh shit, I just lost my place. There it is. Coming off a loss to Nazim Sadikov. Naz looked really good in that fight though against Bonfim. And he got the TKO win by Dr. Stoppage. I don't remember specifically what happened in that fight. I remember Naz looked really, really good in that fight. I just don't remember exactly what happened for that fight to end the way it did by Dr. Stoppage. And it doesn't fucking say, of course. But anyway, before that, he beat Vince Pichel. He lost to Benoit Saint Denis, which is, I mean, at that time, Benoit Saint Denis was beating everybody. BSD beat him by rear naked choke in the first round. He beat Terrence McKinney by flying knee, where he got a performance of the night bonus on that one. That was his first fight in the UFC. That was crazy, man, because Terrence McKinney is one of those guys that comes out and fucking, whether he wins or loses, it's an exciting fight, and he always comes to fight hard. And unfortunately, when he met Bonfim did this crazy flying knee and knocked him out in the second round. So knocked him out cold too. I remember him falling flat on his ass and then leaning against the cage just out cold. It was insane. So that was a crazy first fight for Bonfim, which everyone was high on him, and then he loses his next one to BSD, but that's a tough fight. Beats Vince Pichel and then loses to Nas. So we'll see if he bounces back. He's been on a win-lose streak. We'll see if he bounces back and gets the win against the undefeated Chris Padilla, undefeated in the UFC, that is. So moving on, we got Muslim Salikov versus Uros Medic. Salikov is 38 years old, but man, he's one of those guys that he's a dog too. He's 9-4 in the UFC, 22-5 overall, 14 wins by KO TKO. Medic has 9, 3-2 by sub for Salikov, 2-2 for Medic, and Medic has never been to decision, which is an interesting fact there. And Salikov's 5-1 by decision. Salikov's also on a 3-fight win streak, while Medic is coming off a win. Medic is 5-3 in the UFC, 11-3 overall. Let's take a look at Salikov. People are talking about his age in this one, considering he's 38 years old. That's pretty high for MMA, you know. But he's a high-level kickboxer that been around for a while. He's coming off a win, he's on a 3-fight win streak, with 2 of those 3 wins having performance of the night bonuses against Carlos Leal in his last fight, which was a 42-second first round finish, and then Keenan Song was a first round finish as well, 3 minutes and 49 seconds in. That was that spinning wheel kick that you see right here. And then he beat Santiago Ponzinibbio in the first of those 3-fight win streak by split decision. His last loss was to the main event guy, Randy Brown, which he lost in the first round by TKO. That was his second of 2 losses in a row before he went on this 3-fight win streak. So, you know, he's had some pretty decent names in there. Francisco Trinaldo, Elizu Selesky he beat. A lot of decisions mixed in, but he's got some performance of the night bonuses, 2 in his last 3 fights. So we definitely could see some action going on here from Salikov. Uros Medic is coming off a win as well to Gilbert Urbina in the first round TKO, 1 minute and 3 seconds in, back in August. Before that, he lost to Punahele Soriano in the first round as well, 31 seconds in. So that's kind of the way Medic fights. It's like, you know, kill or be killed, and you know, he's on a win-loss type streak right now. He hasn't had more than 1 win in a row since 2022, and then he's been on this win-loss. So he's due to lose if he follows that pattern, but he's looking to hopefully get a second win in a row over Salikov. But that's going to be a tough fight for him, and I feel like this should be a pretty good one at welterweight. So that is your 3rd fight of the night on the main card. Let's get to the co-main event. We got Matt Schnell versus Joseph Morales. Man, I don't know. Matt Schnell is 7-7 in the UFC, while Joseph Morales is 2-2. But we've seen Matt Schnell get handled by Pantoja, by a lot of people, honestly. And Morales, well, I mean, he's 2-2. He hasn't been stopped on the ground. He has only one loss in KO, TKO, and decision. Most of his wins come by submission, while Matt Schnell also has more wins by submission than anything. He's 2-5 by KO, TKO, which is not a good sign, which is why I said we've seen him get handled. But he's 5-1 by decision. Let's see who Matt Schnell is coming off a win over. His last fight was against Jimmy Flick, where he won by unanimous decision back in April. Before that, he was on a 3-fight losing streak. One of those was grappling, of course. He lost to Cody Durden, Steve Erceg, and Mateusz Nicolau, which, I mean, those are tough opponents, especially Erceg and Durden. Durden's win or lose is a great fight, and he beat Schnell by ninja choke in the second round. So, you know, he gets the win over Jimmy Flick after 3 losses in a row. And, you know, before that, he only had 1 win. So his record is horrible. He doesn't put together a lot of wins, and he got a win in his last fight, which means Joseph Morales has a good, I mean, if you look at the pattern, he has a good chance of winning this fight against Schnell. But we'll see how Schnell comes out and fights. Morales is coming off that win over LB Idris back in August. Second round submission there. So he was on a pretty decent win streak coming out of Cage Warriors, and then he fought in A1 Combat as well. And he was also on the Ultimate Fighter, where he got wins all the way through there. He hasn't lost since 2018, which was his 2 losses in the UFC. So it was his first stint in the UFC. He lost to Eric Shelton and Davison Figueiredo. That's a tough opponent. And then he had a win over Roberto Sanchez as well, where he got a Performance of the Night bonus. That was all in 2017 and 18. So he's now back in the UFC, has 1 win under his belt since he got back after competing in the Ultimate Fighter, and he's looking to get 2 wins in a row here with a win over Matt Schnell if he can pull it off. So that is your co-main event, and that leads us to the main, where we have this interesting fight. I feel like should be a good one. Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown. Gotta run chat soon. Yeah, sounds good, Infinity. Appreciate you for coming in as usual. Yeah, make sure you hit that like button as well, everybody that's here at the moment, or if you're watching later, take a second, hit that like button. I'd appreciate that. It helps me out. And now we're at the main event. We got Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown happening in the welterweight division. I do like this fight a lot as far as compared to everything else on this card. I mean, there's some decent fights, like I said. If you really like go through it and look at it, we could have some decent fights lower down on this card. But I do like this main event. Gabriel Bonfim coming out that controversial win over Wonderboy Thompson, where a lot of people seem to think that Wonderboy won that fight. I feel like it was very close. It could have gone either way. If you really look at it, Bonfim did a couple things in there that probably won him that fight. I don't know that I'd really call it a robbery. I would say it was definitely a close fight against Wonderboy, but he did win that fight, and that put him on a 3-fight win streak. And he's 5-1 in the UFC. If you look at that submission column, 13 wins by submission. He's never been stopped on the ground. Never lost a decision as well, and only has 1 KO TKO loss. So then you look at Randy Brown, who I feel like is a really good fighter, and I feel like he has a lot of potential to become a contender, but he just has to stay a little more consistent. He's 20-6 overall, 14-6 in the UFC. He's had a lot of fights. It's crazy. I didn't even realize that. He's 8-2 by KO TKO, 5-2 by sub, and 7-2 by decision. He is coming off a win. Let's take a look at Bonfim. Like I said, coming off that win over Wonderboy Thompson, where he won by split decision because it was a very close fight. And if you remember, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson got one of his kicks checked in that first round, I think it was. Might have been the second, but that was when he got that nasty gash on his shin. So that was kind of bugging him a little bit. I think that it hindered him a bit, but I mean, he kept throwing that kick regardless of how much his leg was leaking from that nasty gash in his shin. But, you know, he still kept fighting, and he made it a pretty good fight, and it was really close. And like I said, a lot of people thought that Wonderboy won that fight. So, Bonfim is coming off a questionable win, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. Before that, he had a submission win over Chaos Williams. by Dar's choke in the second round, where he got a performance of the night bonus there. And then before that, he beat Angelosa by unanimous decision. His last loss was to Nicholas Dalby, who got a fight, or they got a fight in the night bonus on that one. Dalby beat him in the second round by TKO. So if you remember though, I mean, I know MMA math doesn't really work, but Nicholas Dalby got slept by Randy Brown. And it was a nasty knockout, and I believe that was Randy Brown's last fight, and there's the picture of it on that left-hand side. Randy Brown, yeah, he's coming off that big win. Second round TKO win over Dalby. I would say second round KO, I should say, because that was definitely a KO, where he got the fight of the night bonus on that one. Dalby did drop Randy in the first round, which was interesting. So I guess it's not too far-fetched that Bonfim, you know, but Bonfim's not much of a striker. He's more of a ground guy. So he's got some strikes, as we know. He but I don't know that he has what Randy Brown has. So that's what I mean. It's definitely striker versus grappler type shit. And Randy Brown though is dangerous on the feet. You see the knees, you see the punches. He lost that split decision to Brian Battle before this fight with Nicholas Dalby, which he was probably so pissed about, and he took it out on Dalby. But he did get dropped in that first round. That was tough. So we'll see how he comes out on this one. I don't know that Bonfim has the talent on the feet to do any big harm to Randy on the feet. I think he's going to be more on the defensive and needing to make sure that he doesn't get caught before he can get it down to the ground and, you know, where he's really dangerous. So Randy's just got to keep it on the feet and do work up there and maybe get a stoppage before Bonfim has the chance to get him down. So before that loss for Randy Brown, he was on a 3-fight win streak with wins over Wellington Turman, Muslim Salikov, and Elizu Selesky. So he's looking to put together a few more wins here in this main event. It's the first main event for Bonfim. I think Randy Brown's definitely main evented before with all the fights he's had. So we'll see how this one pans out. I feel like it has potential to be a pretty damn good fight. Let's take a look at the fight predictions from the fight wheel from last week and see how it did. Obviously, we know Bulgarian lost because it was set up that way apparently. So that's the first wrong one there. Charles Radke, Chuck Buffalo did get the win, so that one's correct. Jeremiah Wells did get the win against Themba Garimbo. That one was correct. Alan Nascimento beat Cody Durden, so that one was correct. Waldo Cortez Acosta, after that controversial eye poke stoppage bullshit with the replay and stuff, Cortez Acosta comes back and gets the TKO win over Ante Delia, so that's the correct pick. And then Steve Garcia gets the TKO win over David Onama in the first round, so that's a correct one too. So the fight wheel did pretty good, 5-1 last week, not too damn bad. So I guess if I would have bet on that one, it would have been a good thing. So yeah, let's get rid of these names and let's spin the wheel and see what the wheel has for us this week as far as predictions. Let me get this set up here. Okay, let's go. First fight wheel prediction of the night for UFC Vegas 111, and we got Christian Leroy Duncan to beat Marco Tulio, which is a possibility. I feel like that fight could go either way. So CLD for the first win according to the fight wheel. All right, so there's one down, 5 more to go, I think. We got Chris Padilla to beat, let me get back to this. Chris Padilla to beat, wait, what the fuck? Did I get this wrong? Oh, I'm on the prelim. There it is. Chris Padilla to beat Ismail Bonfim. So there's your second prediction. Let me write that one down. All right, so 2 down, a few more to go. I might have forgot a fight on here. I might have to add that one in. Next up, we got Muslim Salikov to get the win over Uros Medic. Salikov for that one. And I'm gonna have to add in, because I forgot for some reason, McVeigh versus Reese. I don't know. Oh yeah, because that one just they just finalized that and got it up there. So when I prepared, I forgot about that fight. So there we go. 3 more left. Next up, we have Joseph Morales to beat Matt Schnell, which makes sense, honestly. All right, 2 more fights left, including the main event. So the first fight of the night and the main event is all we got left. And it looks like the main event will be Gabriel Bonfim to beat Randy Brown. That's interesting. I'm not sure that I agree with that one, but that is the Fight Wheels prediction. So all right, last one, first fight of the night. McVeigh versus Reese, and Reese. Maybe that wasn't. Oh no, that wasn't on the main card. What the hell am I doing? Yeah, that wasn't even on here. I forgot. That was the first fight of the night completely. That's what I'm thinking of. I don't know why I thought. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, there's 5 main card fights. Ah, man, I'm doing extra work here. Don't even need to. Anyway, we got Christian Leroy Duncan beating Marco Tulio. That's your first fight on the main card. Today, it really isn't, Tyler. I don't know what the hell's going on. But CLD to beat Marco Tulio. Chris Padilla to beat Ismail Bonfim. Muslim Salikov to beat Uros Medic. Joseph Morales to beat Matt Schnell. And then Gabriel Bonfim to beat Randy Brown. Those are your Fight Wheel predictions for UFC Vegas 111. And fuck, I need to wrap it up because I am just losing my mind over here. Anyway, we made it. It's done. Thank God. I appreciate everybody for coming in and putting up with my blunders and mess ups and everything else. It really is not my day here today. I don't know what's going on, but we got through the show. We got to talk about all the betting bullshit. Jake Paul and the Gervonta Davis fight being canceled and potential opponents. It's probably not going to happen at all. It seems like it's basically done for at the moment, so I don't think we're going to see that happen on the 14th. But we do have UFC Vegas 111 coming up this weekend on Saturday. Main card will be at 5 p.m. Arizona time. Account for wherever you are at. You can just Google UFC event and it'll bring up what time it is in your area. So prelims start at 2 p.m. I'll definitely be watching, obviously, whether it's from my phone or my TV, but I will be watching. So that's it for me. I appreciate everybody in the chat, all the support. Thank you guys for putting up with me today, and come back on Sunday for the recap of UFC Vegas 111. We'll talk about any other things that pop up between now and then. And yeah, don't forget to hit that like button, please. Subscribe if you're not already, and hit that notification bell. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Peace.